What's happening? It's Mark with Ethereal Obelisk, and this video is going to be about a self-discipline practice that I do called no FAP slash semen retention. I know there's a ton of videos on this online. They're all over the place. So this is just going to be my personal experience with it, what I've noticed, what it's like, how long it took me, all that jazz. So I started last year around September. I tried to start. I wanted to start for a variety of reasons, but more or less just trying to get more control over my life, I guess you could say. I'd recently just gotten sober. I had a lot of other addictions, some substance abuse issues, some other stuff going on, like spending issues. I just wasn't being self-disciplined with anything. So something hit. I had a moment of clarity, something flipped in me, and I decided to just start trying to do one thing at a time for myself to make my life better. So first thing I did was got clean. Second thing I did was, and I'll go into more about addictions and stuff in another video. Not quite ready to go into that in depth yet, but I'll definitely talk about it in future videos. But once I got clean from not really alcohol, but more or less stimulants, which if you know anything about stimulants, they increase your sex drive and just make you do crazy things. So once I got clean off that, for whatever reason, I started reading about retention and no FAP, and I decided to start that. When I started, I got about 5 days, I'd say, until I relapsed. Like 5 days, which wasn't bad, or maybe a week. I can't remember. I tried counting days, and it's so important for me. I had a general idea of where I was and how many days, but counting specific days wasn't really that important to me. So I had about a week, got drawn in, relapsed once, and then I went for another round, lasted like 2 weeks, relapsed again. But I did notice in those 2 weeks that I started to feel a little bit better, wasn't as depressed, had more energy, yada yada yada. Just felt better in general. So I got that in. Then I think I went for like 3 weeks or close to about a month. And then after that, and I felt really good. I felt great. Maybe not a month. I think I had 3 weeks. But there was times of retention, but there was times when I would do edging, just didn't bust, but I would edge and then stop. So I don't really consider those 3 weeks a clean 3 weeks, if you know what I mean. They weren't pure. It was when you're doing the edging stuff, like you don't bust, but you still mess with your dopamine receptors. And I thought I could cheat by doing that, just looking up pictures or something like that. But that doesn't work. You can't cheat at all. You got to just be clean. You got to really just rewire your brain, to be honest. If you're going to do it, commit to doing it completely. Just go all in. Don't do the edging. Don't do it half-ass. I know it's tempting, but it's not worth it. So I got about 3 weeks, even though I edged a little bit here and there. But I felt pretty damn good. I could definitely notice the difference. I didn't notice superpowers and walking in the room and everybody is in awe of me and walking around and people giving me free shit. I didn't notice that per se like some other people did. Definitely noticed the decrease in social anxiety and a decrease in depression and more of an ease when talking to people in general, women and men, just more of an ease, not quite as uptight and stuff. So I definitely noticed that. Then after about 3 weeks, then I met my girlfriend and tried to explain it to her, but she didn't really get it. She respected it, but it was a problem for her. So I kind of tried to keep it up and just kind of gave in to the whole retention thing. Still kept up with the no FAP thing, but gave in to not. I still was pretty adamant about not busting too much. I would try and bust a couple times a week, 3 times, but then eventually it was causing enough problems with the relationship that I just said, screw it. I'm gonna cut out the retention for now and just do whatever, just have fun, go all in. Beginning of a relationship, you want to just do your thing. So I did that, and I felt okay. I felt drained quite a bit, tired. I noticed messing with my dopamine again like that. It started to give me headaches in the morning. Felt sluggish, felt depleted. Really just kind of hurts your sex drive in general when you bust that much. And there was a lot of times though at the beginning when I would have sex and all that and not bust, and I was fine. I wouldn't focus on the end, just enjoy the act, and I was okay. But with the girl, eventually she's gonna, at least my girl, it's something with them. They just want to see it. They want your energy. So at that point I was like, it's not worth the problems in the relationship to just keep retaining. I'm just gonna go all in and just go for it. So I just figured, what the heck, go in the relationship, sexually active, and so I did for a while. And on and off, I would try and retain for like a week. Just ever since I learned about it, I've tried to be really cognizant of how much I bust and not just going crazy. Like there was a time with her I'd bust a couple times in a day, but after that I would stop and just, because then I'd really start feeling drained, and I knew the consequences of it, and I didn't want to deal with them. So I was always cognizant of the whole relationship. There's times I would, let go and just figure what the heck, and then I would be more aware of it and more, more reserved when it came to busting, not with sex, but just with busting. So yeah, that's what happened during the relationship. And then when the relationship ended, like a month ago, a little over a month ago, I've decided right after that I'm going hard with the retention and really being pure, going pure mode. Nothing, no watching anything, no nothing. And I've lasted over a month now. It's been like, I don't keep track of exact days. It just seems kind of redundant to me. It's like a badge of honor. Like I know I've gone a while. I know it's been like, at least, I could map it out, probably figure the exact day, but it doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is the benefits that I've seen outside of just getting more energy. Like your skin definitely gets better. All that stuff is true. Physical effects. You definitely have more energy. It's definitely way easier. You start to not objectify women as much. You start to view them more like people and not as objects, which is always good. They start to become less intimidating, and you just, especially really hot girls, you just kind of go up and chat with them, and it's not as big of a deal. I mean, of course, I still have social anxiety in certain situations, but I noticed that it's like a purification of your subconscious almost. Like, you feel clean when you walk around. You don't have anything to hide. And that's kind of my goal with this and other things I've done. I don't want to be hiding stuff. Anything I do in private, I want to be able to be open about in public. So that's kind of been my goal, is to just be pure and open. I don't know, it's worked. And the other things, so that stuff has worked. Female, I did notice, like, the other day, I went into a store, like a vape store. The guy gave me a whole new tank for free, didn't have to. I went in to work on my eBay stuff, like my shirt selling business, and this girl that was working at the register gave me all the shirts for like $1 or less. So I got, a ton of shirts for like under $1. She didn't even read the price tag. She just gave them to me. I was like, wow. So it's like little things like that I've noticed. And, the correlation, who knows? Maybe it's because of that. Don't know. But I've definitely noticed little things. You exude more confidence. more testosterone, and I've been more social with people in terms of giving them compliments, which I've noticed. Just anybody I see, it doesn't matter what they look like, you know, a lot more girls than guys, but you know, I see a girl with, you know, a cool mask. I'll say, "That's a great mask. I really love it," or "I love your hair," or "You have really pretty eyes," or, you know, just, you know, you don't want anything from them. You're just giving them a compliment and just creating a good dialogue to make their day better. And I notice I've been doing that a ton, and it's a good habit. I feel like it's been good for me. I feel like it helps people. Everybody walks around nowadays so freaking miserable. Everybody looks so like pissed all the time, and everybody's so reserved and angry, it seems like. So my goal is to just, hey, you see somebody, no matter how they receive it, you just give them a compliment, kind of brighten their day. Don't expect anything back. Just give them a compliment and just keep moving. Just smile at them. You know, I'd smile, give them a compliment, maybe introduce myself, got their name, and just kept it moving. So that's something I've noticed. I've been more optimistic socially and been more selfless, been more willing to give compliments. Another thing, the biggest thing that I've noticed with this, and maybe it ties into my, you know, when I stopped using stimulants, is and it was really helpful in that whole process, because I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is it just helped in general with my impulse control, like with shopping, with, you know, wanting to do this or that or use or whatever addiction or any type of impulse based pleasure that you have. For me, I feel like when you have the self-discipline to control that, which is like basically a drug that's available to be accessed 24/7. I mean, it's more or less what they've proved. The amount of pleasure that comes with it is like a drug. So, you know, whatever goes up must come down. So you got to think about it. It's like a drug, you know. You get addicted to it. Your brain gets programmed. I don't know the science behind it exactly, the terms, but your brain gets programmed to need that and want that. So you keep going back to it, and it's hard to break. I mean, it was really hard for me to break. You have to really almost like tell yourself that that part of your body doesn't work. Like from the waist down, like my sex drive just doesn't work. It doesn't exist. And you have, I mean, these people that say you don't have urges. I mean, for me, working out every day, doing yoga, I mean, that stuff helps, but I feel like you got to think about it. It raises your testosterone, and then I feel like you get even more horny. So I've had to fight. I mean, you literally have to have battles with yourself. And I just start doing push-ups, take a cold shower, start meditating. Because, man, these urges, you know, you still have memories of this stuff in your head, stuff you watched, stuff with your girlfriends or whatever. You still have memories in your head. It's not like you can not watch porn, but the memories are still there. So you can easily access those memories when you don't want to. They just kind of pop up in your head when you're horny. So you got to be able to control those memories and those thoughts, because they're going to be there. You're not going to forget them. They're not just going to disappear. So that's been the toughest part, is dealing with those memories. And my sex drive didn't just go away. Like, it's still here, and it's been, 40 days or whatever. And there's still times where I feel like, man, I'm like pent up with energy, and my sex drive starts kicking in and all that stuff. So it's definitely still there. I don't know if people say the sex drive. Maybe it'll happen down the road, but for me, it's still there. And when you're pent up sexually, it can cause frustration and anxiety and stuff. So I think what's helped me though is just the meditation, yoga, doing all this other stuff has really helped cleanse my anxiety a little bit more. But it's still there a little bit. Like, I'm trying to figure out new ways to kind of channel that sexual energy out beyond just working out and meditation and yoga, because it's still going to be there, especially when you're raising your testosterone, working out a ton and all that. So it's still there. But it's like quitting a drug, and it's harder than quitting real drugs because it's something that's easily accessible at all times. And especially when you watch porn and stuff, that stuff really, really messes you up, because you got to think, it's like when you take opiates, I don't know if you've taken opiates or really any drug, you start low, just like when you start porn, you start with like a magazine or something, but then you slowly graduate to more extreme stuff. Like over time, you start to watch more and more extreme stuff, and just like an opiate or a drug, your tolerance gets higher and higher, and you start watching more and more extreme stuff. You start, needing these higher amounts of stimulation and extremeness to get off. And then when you're with a real person, even if she's hot, a lot of times it's like your subconscious doesn't know the difference, so it's saying she's kind of hot, but do another search and find something more extreme. And that's happened to me. The erectile dysfunction has happened to me before, and it's not fun. It's embarrassing. It's just not. It's awkward. It's not fun. I mean, you handle it like a man and just own up to it and just explain, like, look, I'm just not feeling it. But it's awkward. And when you cleanse yourself of that, you don't have those problems, those erectile, because your brain's getting rewired, and you don't need to do a new search. That's what your brain's telling you, as opposed to just looking at it. And this girl was super attractive too, but it's like my brain was like, do another search. She's not quite extreme enough. So I think quitting porn is the number one best thing you can do. No, cutting out the fapping and quitting porn. The semen retention is like, it's a little more complicated, and it's a whole nother level. Is it worth it? I mean, I think it's worth it for at least 30 days. I think everybody should try it for at least 30 days just to see if it's for them. Will I continue? Am I one of those guys that's going to go 1,000 days or trying to go? I don't think so. Like, it's not that big of a deal to me. I don't think the benefits are that much different from going 60 days to going 200 days. I mean, I think it's all right to, if I get a girl, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm not going to go overboard and just blow my energy out everywhere over and over again, but I'm not going to tear myself apart about it. So that's how I feel about it, more or less. It's a good practice. I think for me, it just helps you overall, even if it's subconscious, it helps you with self-discipline. If you can have the self-discipline to do this, you can have the self-discipline to do a lot of other things for yourself. Like now I'm working on my diet. I already got into exercise and yoga. I quit everything. I've been living clean. Now I want to get my diet clean, cut out the sugar, and then my last thing will hopefully be caffeine. But this no-fap, man, it really trickles into other areas of your life and helps you with impulse control. Because if you can control that impulse, you can really control any impulse you have. So that's my 2 cents on it. I think it's worth doing. I don't know if it carries all the benefits that a lot of people say. I mean, I think a lot of it's kind of, you believe what you want to believe, and you see what you want to see. So what you want to see out of it, you kind of get. Whether or not there's a correlation between retention and the other stuff and all these other superpowers, I don't know yet. Maybe I'm not quite there that I've gotten the full power set, if you will. Maybe I'm not quite there yet, but I think the best thing you can do is cutting out the porn and trying to rewire your brain first and foremost. That's the first step. And you got to keep trying. You got to be resilient, because honestly, it takes a while to do it. You're gonna probably fail over and over again, like I did, like pretty much everybody did. You're gonna fail. Don't get discouraged. Just don't fall into any binges. That's one thing I can say I did, is I didn't fall into binges after I failed the first couple times. I still knew I would get depressed for a little bit, for like a half a day, and then I would realize, all right, I can just restart. It's not, going once isn't that big of a deal. Like, I can get this back. So don't beat yourself up over it. It's really not, I don't think it's powerful enough to just beat yourself up over. I mean, it's something that takes time, and you're going to fail. You just got to keep doing it, and eventually you'll get there. And once you get a couple streaks, like a week or 2 weeks, and you just got to be there mentally. You got to want to do it, and you got to really have your defenses up to transmute that energy when you start feeling those urges coming on. Because like I said, things will pop up in your brain. You can remove all your temptations from online and social media and all that, but there's going to be temptations in your brain from your memory banks. Those are going to pop up. And please, whatever you do, don't do the edging stuff. I promise you, even if you don't bust, it still messes with you, makes you depressed and tired, messes with your dopamine levels, and you're going to ruin your progress if you do it. I promise you. I did it, and it didn't help me. If anything, it made it way worse. So think about that when you do it. If you're going to do it right, commit to it, and just see how it works for you. Maybe it's not, some people it's not worth it, and they just go back to it. But for me, I think it was good just to be able to prove to myself that I could do it, and that I could make it 30 days. And my bottom line is I wanted to help with the impulse control, like I said, but also I don't want to be controlled by women as objects. I don't want to be women. A lot of women try and use their sexuality as a weapon to manipulate you, and I don't want to be manipulated or controlled by women. I want to have my own thinking. I want to have my own brain. I want to be able to do my own actions and have my own thoughts and all this stuff. I don't want that control over my life anymore. So that's one of the main reasons I did it. And I want to just view women, in a more positive light, subconsciously. I already do it. I always have, but I think subconsciously it helps to purify you a little bit and helps you to not objectify women so much. So for me, that's the bottom line for me. If I can have control over every area of my life that's possible, I'm going to try and do it. That's my mission. That's been my goal for the last year now. So but take your time. I'm slowly working there. And with this no fat retention stuff, just take your time. You'll get there. Don't get discouraged, and just, don't count your days. Just do it. Don't think about all that other stuff and all the benefits. Just do it for your own self-discipline. Do it for your own benefits, not all these other benefits people say exist. All right, and that's about it. This is Mark with Ethereal Obelisk signing out. Have a good one. Bye.